That clock is close.
That's for my parents, or my dad also.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approved minutes from October 13th, 2025, regular city council meeting.
I move we approve.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda A, approve payments and disbursements. B, approve phone stipend for liquor store manager. C, approve THC license for Caledonia Mart. D, approve pool paint purchase.
I have a comment on B. Part of the cost is going to be covered with the 10,000 donations from Ralph and Marilyn Joy family. I double checked with Sue Joy. This was in line with their wishes, and she said was. But I think it is appropriate to put a thank you note in the newsletter acknowledging that contribution to the school.
Good idea.
They really didn't want to be, I don't think, unfortunately, I don't want to say this on here, but they didn't want that. The family wasn't here.
Oh,
They took the donation and they really didn't want to be necessarily all known. So,
I didn't realize that.
sorry. I mean, and they did have no stipulations.
We don't have to say their name, John. We can say
President.
a
Yes,
citizen of Caledonia.
yes, that'd
Okay.
be wonderful.
You know what I mean? Just give them something.
Yeah.
I agree with you. We need to.
And some sort of role model for other people to.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was wonderful. They did a few across town, so it was a just great donation.
The library got one too.
Yes, yeah. I don't think, did they have any stipulations for them either? It's just
My
whatever we
understanding
needed
is that
for.
they wanted to go to the pool.
Yeah. If they said, whether it was wages or you need supplies, or if they didn't care. I think there was 3 of them here that day, of the siblings. So. And I did, like I said, I thanked them and I, over and over, I guess, but they didn't really want to be.
No regions.
I tried, but
Anybody else got any questions on that or?
What is the Caledonia Mart?
Country store on the highway. They changed names when they changed owners. Well, they got changed like trade name, but the signage is still the same.
Okay. I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Public comment? Good. Case man, go.
All right, sweet. Had some nice dreary days here for sweeping. Believe it or not, it works the best to pick things up when they're a little damp. So the guys have been hitting that what they can. Doing a little bit of work down around some of the existing structures here, cleaning up some of the leftovers from the wastewater construction. We every year got a budget for traffic engineering, which is for speed radar signs, street name signs, stop signs, you name it. So we ordered, I believe, 73 signs. We've got all new street name signs that are high impact prismatic for Main Street, east and west, anything in the Highway 44 right away, Old Highway Drive, West Washington, pretty much all the main thoroughfares of town. So we'll be up to date on street name signs, and then also kind of North Marshall and intersecting streets of Pine, Caledonia, basically from Grant Street up to the dead end by Hackney, we got some stop signs and yield signs that have been uncontrolled intersections. Doing the same thing down on the south side of town, on Monroe, Madison, East and Badger. We've had quite a few close calls of accidents where, you know, there's just no stop sign, yield sign period. So trying to clean those up, changing out a few crosswalk signs that are faded. Buildings, they're going to be starting soon here. We had some money budgeted for some OSHA upgrades to the street shop building. I'm going to get a new doorway cut in on the north side. There's currently only one exit. And then that'll come along with some exit lighting, like emergency lighting. So you got lit access to get out in an emergency. We're working on the OSHA grant. It's a matching grant. So we budgeted, I believe, 10,000. If we can get the match up to 10,000, we'll have 20,000 total to cover cutting in the new doorway at the door, exit lighting there, and at the other existing door, and then the cold storage shed's got 3 doors that don't have lighting or anything of that nature. And then some fireproof or explosion-proof cabinets for all of our flammable liquids. Something else we need to get up to date on. So that grant should help us obtain all those things. And then some more building stuff. Press box is just about complete. Kind of like I said, the guys are working out between things here. And then the bleacher building, the big white one next to it, we've got a handful of rotten poles and the whole thing's starting to leak pretty bad. So we're working on pulling it back. We'll replace the poles that need to be replaced, and then we're going to reinforce with concrete below grade and above grade to hold that thing in place so we can get some more years out of it. And then water sewer department will be working on winterizing, warming house, concession stand, pool building, all that good stuff in this next week or so before it gets too cold. Wastewater project, you know, just a few contractors trickling in wish list items a little at a time. The generalist down there today with a crew of 4 or 5 guys cleaning, I think kind of doing their final clean on you know, interiors, exteriors, walls, floors, all that good stuff. Stormwater project we talked about a while back here, we finally got all of our structures designed. That's starting at like Nancy Solutions, cutting down through the yard. Behind an old Beaver Plumbing building, a few more structures down there. And then it goes over by Kathy's Salon and then shoots out to Hoka Street. So we'll end up with a total of 6 structures and about 400 feet of storm pipe on that one. We got some proposed construction drawings from Verizon here. We currently have them up on our water tower by well 6, kind of up towards the clinic in Quillens. They are proposing to take down, I think, is it 5 antennas, or take down 3 and replace with 6. So we sent those drawings off to our city engineer. They always review them for structural analysis, and then they'll do observation, or construction observation when that happens. The contracts got it so the engineers covered cost is covered, I believe, up to 10,000 on that project, which is usually sufficient. They're proposing to start that, it's the first quarter of next year, weather pending. So that contract, every new antenna will give us $100 more, you know, in addition to what's up there. So that'll be a little extra revenue, I guess. And then the first of the year is always, I think, a 2.5% increase of those guys. Then I guess just kind of ongoing with the engineer on our Warrior project, pushing forward on that stuff. That's really what I got for you.
Anybody got any questions for Casey? Jake?
With what Casey just said, we should have working on, I think we got all the paperwork back where we should be able to take possession of Warrior next month at the school board meeting, hopefully tomorrow night. Myself and I think a handful of you, or I'm not quite sure all who is going to be at the school facility planning meeting tomorrow night. Kind of looking forward to hear what that's all about and see what their kind of plan is. And I think maybe selfishly, maybe not, I think that's a great opportunity to start with a lot of, just to hear the school's issues and kind of see where that aligns with our own and maybe some of their problems or our problems. And so I'm looking forward to learning that tomorrow night. On Thursday, I'm going to Rochester to meet with the Southeastern Minnesota League. Again, this one's centered around the Regional Development Organization conversation. Again, just trying to figure out where that's going to go, and hopefully we can get an answer soon. my preference would be that the cities have a way to get represented in whatever group that is, because my main concern, and I've repeated many times in these meetings and here as well, is that our region is oftentimes focuses on Rochester, and most of these people that want to run this group are in Rochester, and so I just hope to, or my plan is to go there and remind everybody that we're all down here too. But following up on Casey's grants mentioned too, we've got the local road improvement plan opened up. That's our plan to use that to pay for the Bulk of Warrior. And then we're going to apply for the local, what is it, local program partnership or something like
I believe
that?
so.
I don't think we've ever known what this one is. We just know it's LPP. And that will pay for the turn lane and the start of the turn lane and some trail connection, things like that. And then the big one is the Greater Minnesota Public Infrastructure Grant. We're working on that one. We just got the agreement for that one, so that work will start soon. And that's our industrial park idea on the west side of town. And then we're wrapping up the land purchase for the Deering Estates. We just need to get some signatures. And so far, I'm sitting on one proposal for the lot on Washington. And that closes next Monday. And then if this works, which hopefully it does, oh, there it is. Okay, we're gonna give you a tour.
Might be the only time I'm there. Never make the old one in 20 years.
No?
Now it's gone.
Yeah, you missed it.
So everything at top of the hill's the new stuff, right?
Yep.
Yep. Harvester's good fall.
We're actually hauling out about 6 loads this week just to make sure we got enough room to make it for our normal haul.
Cropland, haven't they taken the corn off yet?
We don't have any ground to haul on.
Oh, we don't.
Yeah, we lost our ground, so we've been working on trying to acquire ground.
We got 12 acres right there.
Neighbors.
I know any friends doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be, depending on what nitrogen levels are in the soils we're applying, probably gonna be close to 80 acres now.
Gotcha. What's that water going around the perimeter?
So they designed it basically as a storm pond for the site. There's a weir gate we can open to drain it. What you see there's actually only about 8-9 inches deep. The gate's open and that's as low as it gets, so we kind of like make a modification to that so it can be drained all the way out.
It keeps going.
Are those trees were always there, right? I think it.
Yeah, those are
Colonies?
MnDOT's trees.
MnDOT's, okay.
And then hopefully by the end of this, we'll have a row of trees around the moat there.
Because we're gonna go around our perimeter to the trees.
On top of the berm there. You see that gate control?
Yeah, there's supposed to be 60 12-foot tall trees that start here,
Wow.
work all the way around, and then there's also another berm over here.
Yeah.
So that's an aerial tour of our new wastewater treatment plant. And the reason that we have this video is because it was submitted for an award for its nitrogen and phosphorus, with nitrogen and phosphorus.
For sure nitrogen, we don't have a phosphorus limit at this point.
And so because this thing's pushing out, it's treating the water down to less than 1 microgram of nitrogen. What is
Yes,
it?
0.1 milligrams per liter. So it's operating very, very well. They just did a DNA analysis, which is something I was unaware of. But whatever particular bug that we have in our system, not only is doing an excellent job on the nitrogen, but it's also removing phosphorus. They brought, the engineer actually brought 2 guys that are operators from New London, Wisconsin, a few weeks ago. They're a town about 3 times their size, but they had almost an identical dilapidated plant and looking to build basically this, but 3 times the size for them. So it's kind of nice to be able to talk to some other operators in similar situations and whatnot.
Excuse me, are they testing PFAS too?
Yes, we've been enrolled in a PFAS program for about 2 years now voluntarily. It's actually become a requirement now, especially for our biosolids application. We did sampling of that here a few months ago, got our results back, and I think what that threshold is, it's like 2 nanoparts per trillion or something. Or under,
Yeah.
we're well under the limits where we can land apply. I forget the numbers, but if we get, higher to some degree, then we would have to potentially be driving landfill, which would be extremely expensive.
And last, I think in the summer, I don't know how long ago, we got some more guidance on PFAS and land application. I was saying it's quite a bit safer than we had been worried about, just about if it's prevalent in the crops and things like that after it's land applied, because the PFAS conversation's been going on for a long time. And in my opinion, rather than aggressively trying to treat the source of the contamination, they want to go where they know they can find it, which is wastewater. But you don't really learn anything from knowing that it's present in the wastewater. All you know is that it's being collected somehow, and we have absolutely nothing to do about it. So this will be a long, long conversation that will probably get expensive at some point. But for right now, this plant's doing its job very well, and we're not quite done yet, but we'll get there. But this is the first ever aerial tour, so I would love to treat you to it.
So that does go off the street at the top then too?
It does.
I forget what street that is.
You want me to give you guys a walkthrough while we play?
Do it, do it, please.
All right.
Yes.
So the old site was down here, everything was demolished there. This is an SBR tank that was built in the early 80s. We've now transitioned this into EQ basins. So basically if we have high water weather flows, or we get a slug load from somebody of a high concentrated BOD, TSS, pH level or something, we can capture it and put it out to the side. And then eventually feed it into the system one at a time. This year's new, it's a wet well, it's got 5 big pumps in it. Flow comes into the plant this way, and then also from the industrial park that way. Goes in this building where there is a rag removal auger in there. It's cool, super cool, something we've needed forever because we've suffered with pumps being plugged and things just jamming up with rags. We get an insane amount of rags in our system. So this big long auger, it runs and it binds them up into a ball, dewaters them, cleans them, and eventually drops them into a big bag that just keeps coming off the end of this auger into a dumpster. So since that auger was started in May, we've had to empty a 2-yard dumpster 3 times of compressor rags. So it's insane. Then it goes through a little aeration cycle and grit removal, then over to the headworks, which then pumps all the way up the hill. This was existing biosolid storage. We may be looking to add a ring to that for capacity in the future. We'll have to get a year under our belt and see for sure.
Does that take a year to fill?
So we used to only fill it half, but now that we went from anaerobic to aerobic to anaerobic, we're a different process, creating a lot more solids. So yeah, the force mains pump way up here into the selector zone, and then essentially it's pumped into here, ring to ring to ring. And as those guys are running, there's RAS pumps back in the pump building, which will take some solids and we can recycle back and mix, do with them. 2 guys got to do down there just to keep the bugs right. Then essentially it all comes through the clarifiers and leave over a weir around the inside, and then all the clear water runs off to a UV channel in the back of this building for disinfection, and then the solids go back into 210 into a rotary drum.
Garage doors.
Yeah, I do a rotary drum thickener with polymer that's added to it to make it about 5% solid and pumped up into the tank for land application.
How deep is it? That really, the water in there?
So that tank's 18 feet deep.
Okay, so don't fall in.
It's about 14 feet deep of liquid. The whole place is fenced in now. There's an access gate way up in the top corner to Hoka Street, and then one down at the main entrance of Public Works. We've got these little scan cards that all our city vehicles and personnel have to their cars now. So starting next week, Wednesday, we're going to actually have them locked so that the only way they'll open is when city staff pulls up in the morning, and then it'll open the gate. They'll stay open for business hours, but aside from that, we should have a nice secure site finally.
Those are all 3 doors on the back of it?
Yeah, we went with glass doors. So that UV channel in the back of that building was supposed to be an outdoor unit. MPCA has really pushed for people to have them indoors for a couple of reasons, just working on them, reliability, not having to shovel snow in the wintertime. So we joined the buildings, and we did have to put a source of heat out there, but it's a wastewater environment, and we wanted to have glass so we could capture the heat in the wintertime, conserve some energy that way, or be able to just roll doors open in the summertime.
So all the challenges and delays have been well worth it? Like this is a.
No.
It's a big success.
No, it's not.
No, I mean, at the end, we've almost got the product we're, that a contractor bid on. We've still got a little ways to go.
You do.
Yeah, there's still a punch list to get through, and then there's final payment and things like that to be made, but the big news is that the plant is running and it's running well.
So that's a win, right? I mean,
We got a sweet deal on it too.
What else you got there, boss?
That's it.
Mayo?
Oh, sure, yeah, I'm gonna forget. So, last Thursday, we met with Mayo leadership to learn a little bit more about what their plan is. We impressed upon them that the best option would be to give it to the city and let us keep going with that. They didn't indicate one way or another what the plan is, but they did let us know that they have taken some, I don't know if you call them offers, that they're talking to people that are interested in buying the building. They couldn't tell us who or what, but it tells us the conversation is moving, and so we made it very clear that whatever they plan to do, they should do it quickly, and that we have a lot of interested firms that we can fill that place with. So hoping that conversation meant it was a good thing and that they'll do something quickly, but we did also learn that they will likely reduce some service, and then before the December 10th date, that maybe in the middle of November or something like that, we'll see some rescheduling here. And I've been told that that's already started happening, and I know that with some certain disciplines, certain appointments, things like that, they're moving over to specialty locations. So it wasn't the immediate answer that we were looking for, but it was good to be in the conversation, and hopefully they're eager to sell and they're going to move quickly on that.
We hope.
We hope.
Mhm.
Do you have any other takeaways from that?
No, I just don't want the building to sit empty. Well, I really don't want a gas station there.
We did reiterate that one of the big reasons was staffing concerns. No, I don't know, they seem to think that's a problem. I know they had a lot of issues with labs, the equipment's getting old and making sure they got licenses. There's a few things they mentioned, but they weren't gonna change their mind, that's for sure.
In the end, it's a business, and hopefully they'll treat it that way. We can bring somebody else in to
Mhm.
cover our community. You good then, Jake?
Yep.
Staff? Well, we'll do Veterans Rock first. How about new business, Veterans Rock? Jake, you want to take this? You want me to go?
No, this is just a continuation, and I think probably the last item on this rock, which I think I do keep getting the name wrong. As far as I know it's not Freedom Rock, that's in Iowa, but basically we got a request, and you heard at the last meeting, there was a letter from the Legion asking that we honor flag code and put some lights on this. And I wouldn't say that anybody on the staff level is opposed to the idea of lighting the rock. It's just that we've been very sensitive to the MnDOT's right of way. And last week we got this new map that's included in your packet that doesn't have actual distance on it, but I think we measure it to be about 20 feet, which is about all that we've got there. And so really, I mean, the only reason that we're having this conversation, I think as far as I understand, the lights would be donated, and I think they've got somebody in town already that's planning to do the work. It's just, we don't want to see something get put in the right of way that's going to be torn out in 2 years when this roundabout comes, or when they do more moderation or modifications to 44 and everything like that. And we've had conversations lately where we want them to tee this trail off right where the right of way line is, that green line, and go towards the roundabout, because their preference right now is to run it along well, as you can see, the purple 10-foot trail section there. We would rather see that in North Park. So there's some just design things that aren't solid yet. So we have not wanted to make a permanent decision for something that may change. But that being said, I don't know if you have anything else to add. I think that's pretty much the situation. Is the only reason that anybody on staff has been hesitant to install something permanent is because it might get tore out.
That's, the main one. I believe that what they currently put out there for the rock and the sidewalk, I believe it is right up to the MnDOT right-of-way line. Without applying for some sort of MnDOT agreement or art on the trunk highway right-of-way or something, I haven't even, I guess, looked into it other than what they have on their website. You know, I don't know that we'd be allowed to put lights out there to shine at the rock. And there's kind of limited space surrounding it. I know at one time we talked about hanging a light up at the evil end of that shelter, but that rock's probably 5 or 6 feet out away from that building. The group had mentioned shining lights off each corner of that building and one off the peak, and I think what we're gonna end up with is a lot of light shining out into the highway. So I'm pretty hesitant about that proposal.
Do we have something to say about how many lights they put up or where the lights?
But yeah, this is all up to you guys.
Yeah.
Well, what had they been thinking? I mean, if they already have somebody to buy the lights and put it together, they must have already kind of been talking about what is their thought process on where the lights would be? I mean, do they shine down from the ground just onto the rock?
There was really no, drawing or real solid proposal other than, they were hoping to occupy a lot larger space than what they have. So everything got condensed down quite a bit here, with that right away being right up close.
So we don't know what their thoughts were on lighting.
No specific stuff.
I agree with them. I think we need light on it. Because I think it's a really neat thing in our community. But I don't know about the right of way stuff, Casey. That's kind of your department, brother. You gotta tell us what we can do and can't do, or talk to somebody in the next couple of weeks, and it's nothing we're gonna do tonight, but
Right.
I do think it needs the light.
The other thing too, future maintenance or, work locational lights. We don't want to be running them over with a lawnmower and things like that.
You gotta do it right. We're gonna do it.
Right, landscape area, something to encompass lights wherever they end up.
For sure.
Really, I guess mostly we want to inform you about kind of the specifics of this so that basically what you hear, that we have a side of it too. But all we're looking for is if the city council is willing to accept it, basically the only reason why it's important, the only extra thing to consider is that means accepting it means we're going to maintain it in the future. We'll replace it if it gets destroyed, stuff like that. And so we just need to know that that's the way you want us to go with this one. But we'll make it fit. We just want to make sure that's what the city council wants us to do in that part. And I think it's, for the most part, kind of a no-brainer. You want to light it. It's just, you want to make sure that we're not doing something that we'll have to have this conversation again in 3 years.
The other part of it was they seemed to have a demand for cameras on it. I know that you guys as a whole have talked about this in the past in our park spaces, and the decision was to not have cameras in park spaces. Every time I'm asked, that's the answer I forward to them, so that's kind of been a hot topic.
Why would they want a camera?
I think their belief is that with a camera on it, it's going to save it from vandalism. I guess we haven't had any vandalism up there to speak of, so we would have cameras everywhere across this entire town and park. That was our main objective, I guess.
And they will throw, they're going to throw a camera or two on the roundabout in the future, that. It won't do surveillance, but just in the past, that decision's always been denied by the council for surveillance on parks, except for Wolf, but we would like to stick with that.
Perfect. We move on to B. Everybody okay with that?
We're just going around town. I just thought I'd mention that 4 flags are not lighted in the city.
Ours? Or
No, yours is fine, but other locations in town, including the post office,
interesting.
I'm lying.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to wade into it, but now that you've read it up, I don't believe that flag code applies to decorative rocks. I don't believe it applies to depictions of flags. I went a long way down, because this is flag code gets thrown about in city government. If you're on city council, you will hear about it eventually. I believe that it's most often not interpreted correctly, but I believe it's a lot of effort went into that rock. It's quite a statement, and it should be lit, but not because flag code says it should.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's good. B, mission statement.
And I brought the mission statement back just because I felt that was kind of undone. I brought the same 3 that I debuted last meeting, if you're interested in any of those, or if maybe a certain council member brought their own, I'm not sure, but if there's any discussion needed on that, we can put that in the back pocket. We don't need it done today, but something that we will have to get done.
I like the second one, maybe with an insertion of the and after innovative.
Remove the comma and replace it with and, innovative and responsive governance and trust, transparency, and accountability.
Yeah, that's my suggestion.
Well, we can always change it.
C, quarterly financials.
You guys are trying to take my chair
It's back
away. You
there.
didn't want me to sit here.
You gotta sit back there behind us.
Oh, so that's. Read between lines. Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna go over the quarterly, third quarter, just September financials. And then as we move forward, the next couple meetings. I don't know about the first meeting in November, but for sure the second, and then of course we'll have to levy the first one. And we'll go back to 26 budget. I'm working on tweaking all the time, getting answers on things, doing the enterprise also, some of that, so between other things that come up, so. But this is through the end of September, our cash and investments, we sit at the 8,551,839.74. Since, as you can see, the third quarter, which is July, August, September. July, of course, we went up the 333,000, and if you remember, in July we get our first half of our LGA 489,005, plus the small cities assistance grant a half, which is just under 14,000, and then our first half of the taxes came in for all the funds that they get distributed to, and that was $797,064, and it's about 57% of the levy this year, which is about where it usually is, anywhere from 55 to 60 gets paid of the levy. So just over 50%. There are a few that pay their taxes in full, the first disbursement, and so we always need to get a little bit more in the first half and then hopefully get all the rest the second half, or a majority of it. But that's why July jumped up so much. And then August was just normal activity. There was no big revenues coming in or expenses going out. And very little change for September here at the 40,000. And some of that probably more or less being utilities also, you know, as utilities collecting bills being higher through the summer here, that influx in cash is kind of showing. You know, with the general fund, of course, again, we're slowly using up our 6 months of LGA and property tax as it goes down. But otherwise, nobody's had any real big changes. The only, you know, everybody's, as you can see in the black, of course, we have the small ambulance fire building. That's actually the land and building that's needed. But other than that, everybody is in the positive. The investments, I think I just gave you through September. We really didn't have much activity. Haven't had any maturities or purchases in July, August, or September. Just normal interest income on the investments we have. Some of the investments have, seems like, have gone up, some of the values, I should say. Now in October, when you see the next 3 months information, we did have a maturity, so we replaced that. And those rates, of course, are not as high as they are on here. But, and then we did purchase another one using the electric department, some of those funds, getting a little, of course, a better rate than the bank. So it's like they throw a little bit more in there, being they're talking about cutting rates. So again, things like that. So trying to do the best we can with the money and, I said, you know, make some earnings on it, I guess, the best we can. If we had a crystal ball, we could see what it would change to. But, so, I don't know if you had any other questions on any of the funds or the balances or investments. Okay.
Just one thing, I guess, back to the first page, this merchant's checking, are they putting interest on that?
Yes, the checking actually, with merchants is our main checking. We really only have one checking for everybody here except for EDA has one separate checking account. The money swipes in and out every night to an ICS, a regular ICS account where we make a little bit more than leaving it in just the checking. So it swipes out basically to zero every night, sometimes not, depending on what can come in and out. And then out of the 8.5, I have probably 4.8 of that sits in a different ICS money market, and that makes a little bit more, about 0.5 to 0.75% more. So, and that's money I don't even touch. That's one where I think we can do like 6 transactions a month. They kind of limit you to what you can move in and out. So I have some of the funds, if they don't need the cash, maybe everybody's got, like the library's got 50,000, and I keep that in that other money market one, so you can earn a little bit more than what the regular ICS. And I forget what that stands for. Again, just a different swiping in and out. So I try to do that. We can make a little bit more in that, but that too has dropped as I went back to the stations just a little bit, not a lot, but through the summer it's dropped. So I thought too, we took a little bit more, him and I decided, do another CD for the electric here. For kind of the advice of our broker too, that he believes too the rates are going to drop. We did just put them in like a 1 year to 18 month. He thinks it'll go longer than that. Again, if we all had a crystal ball and could see that, I take some of his advice and Jake's advice. We make the best decisions we can. Try to come up with the best rates at least. But yeah, we do have 2 different rates on some of this cash. So, and like I said, I try to keep enough in the regular for each fund to operate. If I know they all need so much for payroll or to buy supplies and things like that, then I leave what I can, and then I try to move the excess if that fund has it. Not all the funds have excess into the money market one to make a little bit more. So try to do what we can. A little bit of management, but not too bad at all, really. So, yeah. And then you look at the other side, we got all the money sitting here, and then here's what we owe. The debt service, at the end of September, we have made really all of our payments on any kind of debt on all the GO bonds and notes, which is all, some street, of course, the Kingston Street, and then, of course, the wells, the pool, the new plant, things like that. All payments have been made, interest for 2025. In July, we paid, would have been all the PFAs. So 4 PFA notes, it was $616,092 roughly, principal and interest. So as of today, our debt sits at the $9,757,000, and of course, the majority of that being the plant at 5.8. And I do see we have a little left to draw, about $567,000. Whether that, I don't know what kind of bills we have left to come through, so it should be pretty close, I would think.
Yeah, we should have a final payment negotiated in 2 months, I would say.
So otherwise, everybody, and as you can see, well, our final payment, it looks like nothing's gonna drop off here until the ones, or the mini loan, the real mini loan in 28. Otherwise, we're looking at 31, 32. Type of thing. So, and then the ones down below are just our interfund in between our funds, and a lot of that being Kingston Project, South Street. And I moved most of those payments in July, and then I do have a couple interfund payments here that I do at the end of the year. So not real huge dollars moving back and forth. And again, it's just cash between funds. Doesn't really leave the checking. So. And then we will start the 2026, and most of those payments, the only one that will change that is on here is the wastewater treatment plant. As we draw again, it'll change the payment, but then we'll also make a payment, so. But we're always, with the plant, it's always gonna be probably $450,000 to $500,000 payment for a few years. But we all just seen a picture of the plant. Looks good and operating great. So, well worth the funds. Alrighty. So I don't know if you had any specific questions on the, any of the funds in general. When I whipped through, general fund, I felt pretty good. Most of the funds, really nobody was over. And if they were over, it's again, something odd, but our main departments, nobody is over. Nobody is really overly high in percentage wise either that I believe. So I really thought everything looked pretty good for the third quarter. So hopefully no, big repairs or odd things to come about in the last quarter. I think we will be able to pick some up like we usually do at the bottom. I always hate saying that, but we will have some, of course, street funds there, and we'll see what we'll be able to transfer over in the street reserve. Hopefully we can again move something over there. I know we have some patches to pay for to come out of that department. Yeah, but otherwise, there probably isn't any real large expenses. All the capital, most of that's been done in the general fund. I don't know if we really had anything left if we're gonna purchase, 'cause we're not doing the box, for the plow. I'm gonna move those funds to 352 and they become part of, at this point, we still have the plow truck on there, less 40,000 from this year. The difference is all we budgeted then. And then the you're still gonna do the commodity share? Okay, we're still looking at hopefully still 20,000.
Yeah, we'll keep it to it.
So that will probably be the last of the items on there. I kind of keep adding, I've got the rock on there, and I think I got the press box. There might be a little bit more there, but like I said, we had 5,000 from last year, just because we didn't get to the press box. So I did move those funds, so that'll offset that, so that doesn't hit as much as, even as much of an expense. And anything with, I call it military,
We'll get it narrowed down.
those were all of their funds that they fundraised, so really that, right now I have it sitting at just over 7,000. And I actually we'll put that on our asset list, just like the mural and the other things that they do when it's a larger item like that. It does go on to, like any of our large signs, Caledonia signs, all those are listed on the asset list, so. So if there are more things to go into that, I'll keep adding to that. Trying to think, the other library I thought looked pretty good, really. Fire and ambulance. Ambulance there too, I was pretty conservative on the billing. And so we, as you can see, have filled up more than I anticipated. And there again, fire, and I think he's bringing a piece of equipment for them, and which I believe, like I said, they have a little room here in 25, so they're under their minor equipment, so that should be fine. To move ahead. Water sewer, I'm happy that their sales and what they build out is right in there. And I think both of them, their expenses are just a little bit under, so that's good. We haven't had as much labor services, knock on wood. That was kind of down, is where I noticed most of it on here at this point, so. So hopefully we don't have some other main breaks or things like that at the end of the year. That's where usually the labor services adds up. The electric, pretty conservative with what I did there too for billing, and that's been up. The summer was hot. It seems like billing was up in general, but then and the other side of that is that the expenses up, paying my energy, the wholesale rate also. So things look higher there as far as revenue and expenses, but it's mostly just the electricity usage and the expense of that. Otherwise, it really isn't overrun very many things there either, so. And stormwater, we talked about doing a few things, I think, right? We haven't spent much in stormwater as far as labor.
We will drain that account here the next couple of
Yeah,
years.
we're spending it right now.
Okay.
We didn't start paying for it yet.
This one, I was like, wow. So projects to come there. Liquor store is doing okay also. We're down a little in sales. Looks like about 4% from last year, so. But busier times of year kind of come up here too, through hunting and holidays, so. Otherwise, everything's doing well there also. But I felt pretty good about all of it. Mhm. So hopefully everybody can kind of maintain where they're at and again, not have a lot of unexpected expenses here towards the end of the year. And we will continue, like I said, with the 26. I keep gathering information. A few things come up here and there, changes, so making notes on a few different things. Nothing real big at this point. Things are changing. You know, I think when it was here with budget, we had hoped to, of course, hear about the fire grant, which since I've been here, then the government shut down, and then I don't think these funds will maybe ever be distributed. I don't know.
No, as far as we understand, once they're gone for the fiscal year, they're gone, and now that decision has to be made again, which there is no budget for 2026, so there's nothing budgeted for AFG grant.
So that's a little disappointing as we move ahead in the next few meetings talking about all that. I guess I did budget. It's a larger item for them and we have it worked in there now at this point. And we're probably just gonna have to go that route. Things happen.
Perfect.
And there's a few other odd things that we'll talk about as we go here, and I'm trying to get a few more accurate numbers on things and hope that everything else big comes up. So,
Thank you,
all
sir. I
right.
appreciate
If
you.
you have any questions, feel free to stop in.
D, Richfield Planning.
I think that my title on the agenda is not exactly representative of what you're deciding here, but, so really the question is, do you want us to have Scott DeWitt keep bailing hay on that, or do you want us to see it? Do you want us to try to turn it into a more productive lease that would be worth some money?
Yeah, basically since 29 we bought it, we'll let Scott finish his crop, and then starting in 2020, city provided seeds and fertilizer. He did the labor to plant like a BLM number 5 pasture alfalfa mix. And the agreement was to have him take like 3 cuttings a year off of it and take the bales at no charge. So basically we make no income, but he's clipping, it was 19 acres, almost 18 acres for a while. It's down to like 12, 13 acres now at this point. So year by year, we just keep doing the same thing. And I figured, with some future things, we don't know if it's 1 year, 3 years till we do something permanent with it. But in the meantime, do you guys want to continue that or explore other options?
If someone else came in there and planted something else, do we have to worry about erosion in there?
Yeah, that's kind of the reason we put that BLM number 5. It's just, native grasses and stuff like that. And yeah, it's certainly a soil holder.
Yeah.
Things are in good shape out there.
I personally don't want a cornfield there or soybean field.
Well, I guess so. With the erosion, I guess I think we're better off just to keep it the way it is.
Sure.
How long does that CD put in? How many years can we get out of that?
I'm not real sharp. It is kind of, I think it should last quite a while. I mean, we're on year number 5, and we had 2 dry years last year, so we didn't get a lot of stuff off of it. This year was kind of hit and miss. It's still growing, still holding ground, but I think it'll be sufficient for a couple of years to get us to whatever that next use is going to be.
Yeah, I don't I don't see any dead spots or no kill going on in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few more weeds starting to grow in there, taking over some areas, but other than that, regular mowing. You know, the nice thing is he wraps it up and takes it home, so if we were to mow it ourselves, that stuff would be blowing all over town, you know, unless we had a way to pick it up.
So when are we going to move to development plan?
That's up to you. Basically, I think my plan is to, as soon as we get the Deering Estates land, explore the different ways that we think we're gonna be able to attract developers and then use Deering Estates as soon as that one's settled, then move on to this Richfield. So I would like to move fast. That would be, hopefully that would mean exploring some options as early as late next year. And so that's where really the question is, from what I understand, if we switch to some type of crop, we would have a moderate income, well, pretty low, actually, maybe 10,000 a year or so. But then it seems like the common thing to do is tie that land up with that crop. Is that right?
Yeah, and I would think 300 an acre would be on the high end, so probably like 3,600 a year would be.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I don't think we'll get 300 either.
No,
Probably not.
over 3 years of sniffing 10 grand.
Right.
So we're not making anything out of it right now. It's just want to, I guess, get it firm from the council that informal relationship is the best one for us to keep going with. And then for your point exactly, John, is that we want to be able to pivot quickly.
Yeah, I mentioned to you and I think to Casey, I visited my cousin in Groveland, and she is in a zero entry dwelling. It's 2 baths and 2 bedrooms in sort of courtyard formation. This is pictures of that development in Groveland. And I think, just putting this out there, that a zero entry retirement or accessible set of buildings would be perfect for that field. And the balance maybe whatever larger houses could go into the Deering Estates.
I think we can fit a lot of these in the first field. And then we have, early conversations about that field where for green space, I don't think anything was ever really set into stone, but that's a larger conversation that we have about some park space and all that. But I think that's something to keep in mind, that in other areas, especially closer to the metro and other bigger cities that are growing faster, they will include park space, green space in a developer's agreement, something like that, that I think we could fit the council's original direction for that field and also get it in a more modern way, which means we don't pay for it, somebody else does.
I don't know if this is a valid concern, but I mentioned this afternoon to Amanda. There are, I think, 15 houses for sale in town, and they don't seem to be moving.
We've seen a slowdown.
You know,
Most of them are pending.
There's,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think a new neighbor.
yeah, there's some, I would say there's a slowdown, there's a market correction for the most part, which is a word I don't really like to use. I think it's kind of an economic misnomer, but for the most part, I think that we're gonna see some price changes, some price improvements as they're called over this winter season, but a lot of that stuff is, I think, price to move. There's just some outliers, but it's not like it was a year ago, I would say that.
But even pre-COVID, we used to have an inventory of 20 to 25 homes on the market. What that's worth as a comparison, I guess.
So we will plan to, I guess, you'll plan to reach out to Scott to it and say, just keep rolling. And then we'll try to shore up kind of we use the Deering Estates, that's gonna be our thermometer for figuring out how this is all is gonna work. That's our test case, but I believe, like I said, I think we'll have this is an odd time to announce it, but I think we want to look at some workshops next year for like these specific topics where we don't have, it's still a public meeting, it's just no action, but it gives the council an hour to talk about any given topic. And this development, I think we'll trying to do that regularly, where we have an hour to sit, talk about Deering Estates and get our pencils sharp for that. And then if everything goes well, by the time we do the Frischfield, we should be old pros at this, and that will be my hope. But I would say we'll have some serious movement on that in no more than 2 years.
Is that contract with Scott, is that just yearly?
We haven't had one in place since the first year. Is that something you guys would like to do, is have an annual agreement, or?
He's happy with it the way it is. I think.
Have a conversation with him, what our plans are, so he knows. Yeah, he's a good fella. We good with D?
Yep, we don't need any motion.
E, gas monitor replacement.
So this, the reason that you're seeing this essentially is it's outside of the normal or my purchasing power really, but this is, we have two gas monitors, or there's a difference because the electric department is replacing a gas monitor, a worn gas monitor for confined spaces. This is a gas monitor that is for detecting leaks. We had one that was donated and one that we bought. I don't know which one's broken, but one is broken and they like to have two for obvious reasons, just, and also because they like a second opinion on a lot of things, because we've seen meters where you get 2 meters in the same room, both have different readings, things like that, but, that's pretty much it. We got 3 quotes to replace the sniffer, and the lowest one is $27.69, which is a good price. And as far as I understand, there's no repairing these things; it's just replacing them. So asking for approval on the Fire Safety USA quote to replace the sniffer.
Might be a tough question, but what types of gas? It looks like 4 different kinds of gas.
Yeah, there are 4 gas monitors, which I know one is natural gas, and the 3 other dangerous ones.
Well, carbon dioxide, I'm sure they've got.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. It's carbonate. Really, what our primary thing we use for is natural gas, which is the carbon dioxide.
I think that, yeah, carbon dioxide, I'm sure they've got that too.
That's 2 of them.
So the broken monitor would just be junked.
As far as I understand, yeah. I think those are your 4 gases, but I don't read chemistry, so I don't know what they are.
I'll move to approve a purchase of a gas monitor for the fire department.
I second.
Any more discussion? David, Millie, you good?
I'm good.
David, you good? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Both same sign. Motion carries.
I was wondering what you asked David if he was good for.
Overtime report. Nothing crazy there. Looks good to me.
One update I forgot to throw in is we did open the tree site starting today every day, through fall cleanup. There's been a lot of people trying to get in, their leaves are falling pretty quick here, so.
I read about that in the Holman.
Yeah, we did see that today.
What days are you open?
The fall cleanup is actually, let me go. Starts November 3rd through 7th for your curbside pickup. But starting today, we open the gate and we'll keep it open every day from here for probably 3 weeks or so. See what the weather does.
I have a neighbor that's a little ahead of curbside pickup. He just blowing in the street.
Okay. Hoping the sweepers can come back.
I didn't think that was legal.
It's not.
If the wrong motorcycle guy comes by, they're gonna be mad.
I know,
Yeah.
we got one, we haven't found
Yeah, well,
We'll check on it.
it's super dangerous. It is. So, all right. The next regular council meeting is scheduled for November 10th, 2025, and I will adjourn the meeting.
Better use it to do it done with it.
Oh, the meeting is adjourned, but I just got a text. Steph wanted me to remind you that we only pay for half the gas replacement. The real part pays for the other half.
Oh, right on.
So she just saved you half.
Good job, Scott.
Use the money